question I very often ask myself is superstition the root of evil? And why do I think that this could be the root of the human problem? Well, because we base so much of our human civilization and our laws and our ideals on superstition. And we have no evidence of anything. We reach for scraps of evidence from the ancient past to try to convince ourselves that something else exists besides this immediate place. And it appears that we've been doing it since the beginning of time. There's actually been very few recorded incidents going all the way back into ancient Sumeria, ancient Egypt, ancient India, of appearances of deities. And I think that one of the reasons that I'm so interested in Hinduism is because they actually have the most of everything. It's the most. It's the religion with the most. And I want to get into that a little bit more in this very short, brief discussion about India and Hinduism. So anyway, when it comes to the flat earth, it's really interesting because so much of the majority of the flat earth community are Christians, and it's a little bit annoying sometimes. Like I did want to share some readings from this book called Graven Image, and because I really feel like I learned something important about the graven image that is the spherical earth that we are shown, that NASA shows everybody all the time. Really just the book and the cover of the book. After years of being a flat earther, I realized how detrimental that image has been to us all, and has brainwashed us and distorted our minds. That's why it is a graven image. It's a distortion. It's a gross distortion of our existential plane. And when we look at it, it distorts our mind and it distorts our understanding of who we are. So it is like an evil image, the image of the globe earth, the spherical earth. But it's hard for me to share from that book because it's so based on Christianity. And it gives, and it talks in a derogatory way about like pagan religions, which is basically every other religion except for these Abrahamic religions, and then any religion from the ancient past that may have possibly been monotheistic. But I don't think that all monotheistic religions historically have been as exclusive as the Christians make their monotheistic religion. It's so incredibly insulting when Christians push themselves out in front of everybody else and condemn everybody else and have these, trigger words that they use, like pagan is one of them, to dismiss other people's beliefs. And I grew up Catholic. I know all about Christianity. And I continue to study Christianity because I study religion of all kinds. Religion to me is a branch of human psychology. So, the Jewish Old Testament creation story isn't the only creation story. And when compared to other creation stories, it's pretty meager. There's not much detail, just like there isn't much detail in the Old Testament altogether. And there's not much detail about God himself. God has problems in the Old Testament. God is insecure. He's challenging. He's manipulative. And there's not much about him as a person, who he is or why he is or what he does. So anyway, The superstition that this guy Jesus Christ is the fulfillment of these Jewish scriptures is so far off in so many ways that I'm not going to address right now. And I have addressed in previous videos, namely my video on why I believe that, like, the Old Testament and the New Testament, the Jewish and the Christian people should part ways, and they should be their own religions, and they shouldn't interact. Sorry. The idea that this guy, Jesus, as they call him, is the fulfillment of what the Jews were expecting and prophesizing in the Old Testament as to who their guy was going to be, their Messiah was going to be. He didn't meet the expectations. I've said it before. I'll always say it because it's just a fact. He just doesn't. But he was a good guy, and obviously, for whatever reason, the religion took off. But it's one of many, and it's kind of a real simple kind of thing. And it's just interesting to me, all these Westerners, white people, black people, Hispanic people, that there's so many Christians, so many people have decided that Jewish prophecy is the way to go. That that's the truth of all truths. I wasn't about to settle for it because there's just too much more in the world. And I studied many religions, and, I continue to study many religions, but I mainly study Hinduism because it's so rich and so full and so unavoidant of anything, any aspect of the human condition. It doesn't avoid anything. So I wanted to say that, there's other creation stories, and there's other flat earth religions where flat earth is verified in the scriptures. It's not just the Jewish scriptures. Everybody was a flat earther before these modern guys like Pythagoras and stuff came along, and the Freemasons, and screwed everybody's mind up and provided us with graven images so that we would have distorted minds, so that we could be easily controlled. That's what happens when you've got a distorted, warped mind. You're easily controlled. So I just wanted to share this with you. I'll hold it up here, but I'll also put it up on the screen so you can fully see it. This is one of my favorite things. There's many renditions of this. This is the one by ISKCON, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, which I'm not a part of, but I just like some of their stuff, some of their content. It's a rendition of the layout of the universe, but it's really difficult to illustrate the layout of the universe because we live in a third dimension, and we really can't. We can't even fathom. Just like this two-dimensional beings can't fathom the third dimension, and so on. It's hard to fathom, but they have tried. That's what I love about Hinduism. They have tried. They try everything. No matter how complicated it is to figure out, they'll do it. So, in this idea of creation, this layout of creation, there's three worlds: the upper worlds, the middle worlds, and the lower worlds. And they're all in kind of an egg-shaped capsule, but for sure they are discs. They're discs. There's 14 of them, and there's all kinds of, stuff going on within each of them. And it's an incredibly detailed, mathematically laid out description of the cosmos found in the scripture called the Srimad Bhagavatam, and it's chapter 5. And you can read all about their description of the cosmos. And it says very specifically that we live on a lotus leaf-shaped, earth plane, Jambu Dweep, and that it's round. It uses the word round, but that it's like a lotus leaf. But it's not just limited to this one creation. This is just one small part of a glorious, multi-dimensional creation where we have at the top, as we would expect, God, the supreme God, and then we have dimensions of deities that have planetary systems of their own, and then on down to the middle worlds where we have like the human bodies and the animals and creations like this, and then we have lower realms that, you know, get pretty rough down there, hell realms. So anyway, to get back to my original question, is superstition the root of all evil? Well, it darn well could be, because so much murder and mayhem has happened on this planet as a result of people's superstitions. I'm superstitious, so I'm not dogging anybody that has superstitions, because I have them. I always have. But I'm not going to rule a country and push my superstitious beliefs onto the masses of people and force them to believe what I believe. I am a mega supporter of separation of church and state. We're good people without even having God, because God doesn't even really hardly show up in this creation. Even any of the sub-deities, demigods. We are good on our own, some of us, not all of us. So anyway, I'm not going to push my superstition on people, and I wish that other people wouldn't push theirs on mine, or if at least they wanted to talk about it, they weren't so conclusive that they are right. Because none of us can prove that we're right or wrong, because we're just believing in our choice, in our preference of superstitious belief systems that are already intact. How many of us have come up with our own? I don't know. I just think that superstition is a real issue when it becomes involved in societal functions and government systems. I mean, look at what's happening to the women in Afghanistan and in many Muslim countries. It's all their lifestyles and the experiences that they don't get to have, and the experience that they are having of being prisoners from head to toe, is all based on superstition. The circumcision of little boys in temples and synagogues, and then the rabbi putting his mouth on the circumcised child. This crime is allowed because of superstition. Genocides happen because of superstition. Wars happen because of superstition. And when we got here, Marjorie Taylor Greene out here, who I have defended and supported, out here saying that we should have this be declared a Christian nation, and that she's proud to be a Christian nationalist. And I won't support that. Heck no. Are you out of your mind? You think that everybody in this country should accept Jewish prophecy? Grow up. Get out a little bit more. Pick up another scriptural text, or 2, or 3, or 10, and expand your mind, expand your heart, expand your consciousness. Don't think that you're betraying Jesus. Get over it. Get real. You're kowtowing to Israel? Really? Oh no. Not for me. But anyway, I'll end this discussion here. I'm rambling on and on. Thanks for listening if you've made it this far. But tell me, do you think that superstition is the root of all evil? I do.